Carrie, roll call.
Sam Scarmato.
Here.
Pat Rooney.
Here.
Marcia Cox.
Here.
Hal Christensen.
Here.
Carrie Thompson.
Here. Will we please stand for the pledge in a moment of silence? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize the call to the public. I have one here from Amber Smith. The floor is yours.
Even with music.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
My name is Amber Smith, and I am the SERV coordinator from Calvary Baptist Church. And I wanted to share with you guys something that we are doing for all of the schools in the district. This is an event that we are calling Serve Our Schools, and what it is on October 7th, which is the first Saturday of fall break, we are planning on doing 10 work projects at each of the schools in the district, along with HPA and Telesis. So 10 schools total in the city. And our goal with that is we want this to be a community event. And so it's not just Calvary that are going to be doing these work projects, but we also want to invite the district and the teachers and the staff and the parents, as well as other people in the community. Already have several banks that want to help out, and some other businesses in town that are already on board, and we're hoping to get more. So our goal through this is to have 100 volunteers at each school. So our goal is to have 1,000 volunteers from our community serving all of the schools on one day at one time. And this is something that we are hoping to do annually, just to give back to our schools and support the schools and the teachers and help out the students by just helping keep the schools fresh and fixed up in any way that we can. And so we have an online sign-up that you can go and sign up if you're interested or ask me any questions. That sign-up is at calvarylhc.com/serveourschools. And then I have just a little handout giving information about what we're doing if you want any of those. But just want to let you know about what we're doing, and we're really excited about this and super excited to get the community involved in serving our schools and supporting the district. So, do you guys have any questions for me about this?
Do you have a list of projects?
I do. I just have one copy of the list right here, but a lot of it is painting, just doing a lot of upkeep stuff. If you want, I can leave this and you can look at it.
Is it on the website?
The specific projects aren't. How it's listed on the website is general, so you can sign up for painting or landscaping or drywall repair or whatever it is, because some of the projects need 20 people to paint door frames at Starline, and other projects need 3 people to paint the nurse's office at Jamaica. So they're listed by category. But if you want to take a list, I can give this to you, and I can email Diana if you want the list of all of them. I have all of them except the list from Havasupai, so I should get that this week or next week from them. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions from you guys?
I have heard from a couple of teachers at Thunderbolt that they are loving the new paint job.
Oh, good, yeah.
53 rooms.
Yeah, we painted all of the classrooms on the second floor of Thunderbolt this July. So we had about 100 volunteers paint them. So, yeah.
It's been appreciated.
Well, I'm glad. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think Marcia went and helped.
So, whole new way of doing upper body exercise.
Yeah. So we love our schools, and we love to just just help and support any way that we can. So,
Are you going to have a planning meeting for business leaders or representatives or other church members to kind of, as it gets closer, to kind of get on the same page?
We already met with some churches in town to invite them. So there's about 10 other churches that are wanting to be a part as well. And then I've just been talking with people I know in the business world one-on-one. And I've also already talked to and sent out letters to the car clubs in town. And most of them are on board as well. And then we're going to be setting up meetings with like civic groups like Rotary and groups like that as well. But the businesses in town, we're just going to go face-to-face and talk with people in person. So if you guys know any businesses in town or think of anyone that would like to be a part, I would love for you to connect them with me. My email is serve@calvarylhc.com, and my name is Amber. If you have any suggestions of places to go, I'd love them as well. So the business aspect, we're just going face to face, and actually a lot of people are coming to us saying they'd like to be a part of it. And I'm also doing, in this month, going to be putting out a radio ad, so it'll be known to the whole city. And then I think River Scene Magazine and the newspaper are also doing articles about it. So it'll be out to the public. We're going to invite the whole city to be a part to support.
Amber, do you have a phone number contact?
Yeah, the church number is 928-855-6533. Yeah, and you can call and ask questions. And if I'm not there in the office, they can give me a message and I'll get back to you.
I'm in the Kiwanis Club and I do programs there, so I could
Yeah.
schedule to come in for a program.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Perfect.
So yeah, just give me a call and we can set that up, definitely.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, thank you guys so much for letting me. Sure. Have a good rest of your meeting. Do you want me to leave some of these for you guys?
Sounded like Calvary's phone number.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
Do I have any other calls to the public forums? All right. We will move to approval of the minutes. So for members that had a chance to review minutes from our last meeting, do we have any corrections? All right. Want to call to approve?
Okay. Pat Rooney?
Oh, he stepped
Yeah,
out.
he had to step out.
Okay. Marcia Cox?
Yes.
Al Christensen?
Yes.
Sam Scarmato?
Well, I'll give a qualified yes, being as I wasn't here.
Say yes.
What?
Yes.
Approve the minutes.
Okay.
You called me first.
Carrie Thompson?
Yes. All right, then we are going to move to 2.2, medical paid claims report. Dave?
Yes. I believe that was sent out to, Sam probably hasn't had a chance to review it all, but it was sent out to everybody. Does anybody have any questions on the report for the year 2016-17 as far as paid claims or any items in that report that you'd like me to comment on?
I have a question, Dave. I'm on page 8 of the report, claims by type of service. Can you, the category preventive services, are those just physicals or are they anything other than physicals like counseling services, preventive counseling or anything?
To the best of my knowledge, those are any preventive services that a person might seek at a doctor's office outside the clinic.
Okay. And then office visit, I'm assuming, but I just want to confirm that does not include any office visits at the Health and Wellness Center?
That is correct.
Okay. And then other, what is the other? It's right below office visits.
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I'll ask and get a better definition. Maybe it's in the back here. Let me see.
It went down, I mean, it went from prior year, it went down 73%, so I was just
Other,
curious.
it may be that some kind of a coding issue that they weren't able to completely identify it, still an eligible expense, but I don't see that in the definitions either, so I'll have to ask Marcia.
Okay, and I think in the top 5 categories, it might have been.
No, this says
under
skills.
5, so-
Here it is.
Is it at the bottom? Other includes, is that it?
Page 8?
Oh, ambulance?
Yeah,
Okay,
Oh, there you go, the bottom of the page.
yeah.
because those are listed separately, well, IV therapy, mammogram,
It
Okay.
could be our payment to mom or ambulance.
okay. And then the OTPT, that wasn't work-related, right? That was something other than workers' comp related?
Yeah, that
That is
doesn't.
correct.
Okay. And then on the labs, that went up 77%, do we have any idea what kind of labs those?
No, but I'm sure we could probably get a report if the trustees are interested in seeing what kind of lab charges we're looking at.
Well, only because it went up 77%, I guess. I was just,
Sometimes those are tied to like cancer cases and things. If
Oh,
we have
sure.
a high claim,
oh, I'm sure.
we have specialty labs that run. That usually drives that.
Do you know BRCA testing is more popular now too? And so
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
BRCA testing
Oh,
is
okay.
now more popular, and it's a little more high dollar test, has to get prior off before. We do them at the center, but I know some outside GYNs are starting to do them more too, so that could be part of it. If you get a list, it might list those gene testings in there.
Yeah, I've seen that in other situations, but yeah, that would be good to get that. And
And for
then,
the benefit of the trustees, I try to get this report out to you early enough that if you do have those kinds of questions, if you'd let me know, I'll be sure to research it and have an answer for you.
Yeah,
So,
and then for equipment, that went up 112%. And I'm assuming that might have been for some like rental of,
that's because we just approved our diabetes medical equipment, so that would all be listed in there.
for
And it
last year.
wasn't. Well, we're about 6 months in, and that
Well,
was
the-
the first time it's been approved.
That could be it.
Okay, so this was 7/2016 to 6/30/2017.
So one pump kind of would take care of it.
You think that's?
I would
diabetes
think most of our medical equipment is diabetic related.
Okay.
Oxygen might go in that category. A couple of people have portable oxygen.
I was going with that or beds or
Something
something.
would probably be ongoing.
But we did get pumps approved, and we do have a couple pump patients, so that could be part of that.
Diabetes pumps, you mean? Okay. And those are, okay. And then the claims refunds, it said it went, we had 570% increase in refunds.
Yeah, I went from 14,000 to 92,000, which means that we probably did, or they probably found some coordination of benefits, and so they got payments back on coordination of benefits and/or it was paid twice and they collected it back.
And so do you see those kinds of reports, or you just,
I do not. I'd have to
Okay.
actually ask for them.
okay,
But again, if the trustees wish further answers, just let me know. We'll get to the bottom of them.
well, those are the only questions I had.
Other questions?
Just a comment, we're 288,000 under what we were at this time last year. Another interesting statistic is that out of the 2 million $673,000, $1.9 million is that, $1.9 million of that is on just a few employees. So less than almost less than 2% of your employees are creating 90% of your claims.
Any other questions on the medical side? All right, Dave, can we move to the dental report?
Again, you receive these reports. The dental seems to be holding its own, pretty much. The thing I like to look at and pay particular attention to is the cost to the employees, and then the cost to the district, and then the PPO savings report and the claim savings report. If you recall, the PPO savings is the discount that the dentists are giving through emeritus to the members, and that's 20%. And claim savings is if the dentist wishes to do something that is not dental appropriate, they are denied, and the dentist is told that it is not an eligible expense or is not an appropriate expense, and that accounted for 21%. So roughly 41% is the PPO savings and/or claim savings. Your co-insurance to the employee and their dependents is about 11%. The deductible represents 2%. So roughly 13% of the expenses, eligible expenses I should say, are the responsibility of the covered participant. The balance is then paid by the trust. And it's run pretty consistent year in and year out. Any comments, questions, anything I can try to answer?
All right. Then we will move to our financial statements. So first, if Mr. Murray, Mr. Goldsmith, can report on the Morgan Stanley report.
In a minute.
Madam Chair, members of the board, as of June 30th, 2017, the Morgan Stanley bank accounts have a balance of $2,877,129.44. Of that, it's broken down into both cash and certificates of deposit. Cash balance is $1,901,641.78, and certificates of deposit is $975,487.66.
Did he clarify your email question? Did you want to address that?
Yeah, I had asked about, because we didn't get the complete report. We didn't get some of the additional detail. So I had asked about the Pay Plus transaction, which is an auto pay, and the other one is an auto pay. Advanced funding debit, yeah. And Mr. Murray said that was for a group of checks, and then the Wisconsin RX was the advanced. Yeah. And then I had asked a question also about, I know our Cerner monthly management fee is $53,600, but on this report, it showed that we paid Cerner in June $91,900, and in the report before that, it was a little over $77,000. And I was just trying to figure out why, if our management fee is $53,000, why would we have paid $91,000 last month?
You have two payments to Cerner, one for their management fee and the rest for the prescription drugs that are dispensed at the center. So the balance of those are prescription drugs.
So $40,000 in 1 month for prescription drugs?
Oh, yeah, they're spending the drugs out of the facility.
Is there any way we can break that out?
Yeah.
Or identify it? Because all it shows on here is just a payment to Cerner.
Maybe Chrissy could answer here. Would lab costs be in with the prescription drug?
No,
That's our liquidity up there, is our cash and CDs.
Yeah.
That's just,
Anything you do at the center, yes.
that's 2.9 million cash.
The labs that they do there, the draws? Yeah, that would be in your,
Well, the equipment to do them.
that would be your supplies.
That would be, I
Part
have
of
to
the
clarify,
fee?
but I'm pretty sure all that's in your monthly maintenance fee, the
Correct.
supplies,
Okay.
the meds. I guess they would be more aware of that in addition.
Yeah, we get two invoices. We get the maintenance fee and then we get the
Right.
prescription drugs.
All right, so maybe if you'll just get more detail, you can email that out to us, Dave.
I couldn't
Sure.
see anything weird on this one.
Here, what rate of interest are we getting on the CDs?
They're very small. But maybe it's listed under there in that
Yeah.
report.
We are, yeah, I have it right.
I'm going to say it was
0.
under 1%, but
We are receiving, we have 4 certificates of deposit, and they're laddered, so as one matures 6 months later, another one will mature.
6 months.
So they're 6 months for the first 3, and it's a year for the 4th. So for the next CD that is due to mature will mature on 11/22 of 17, and that is at a rate of well, the yield at maturity is 1.157. The current yield is 0.85. The second one is due to return to mature 6 months later in May of 2018. That's at a 1.15%. The third one that's due to mature in 11 of 2018 is 1.84. And the last one due to mature October of 2019 is 2.12%. And the value of each CD, it's right in the $240,000 range.
Depends on when they got them.
2 are 245,000, and the last 2 are 240,000.
other questions for Mr. Murray? All right, then I'm going to let Mr. Bonney speak on our financial statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustees, as always, it's a pleasure to be at your meeting. I believe the June financial statements were emailed to all of the trustees a few weeks ago. So I will get that copy. I'm not going to speak very much on the actual financial statements. Well, those you can read and you can see what the numbers are. I will state that probably a couple of hours ago, I got an email from Mr. Murray with one question specific to the financial statements. I didn't have time to do the research before I came over here today. But it probably wouldn't have made much difference because I'm going to make a request. And I think I requested previously that if there are questions on the financial statements, that they go first through Mr. Murray and then he can send them to me. Try to be as politically correct as possible. My preference is that emails or questions with regards to financial statements be asked in an open meeting where if I don't have the answer while I'm here, I'll research and then provide that information to Mr. Murray. He can pass it on to all of the trustees so that we're not getting a question on financials from one particular trustee that perhaps the rest of the trustees are not aware of or don't want that information. If you want additional breakdown information on the financials, if the board agrees that this is what you would like, we'll be happy to provide it. Again, with each of the financial statements. I think we had the discussion at the last meeting about a breakdown on especially the management fees, and we did break that down if you look on the statement of activities. We did break down management fees to management, benefit management, legal, and then everything that doesn't fit in those other categories. The request previously was to provide the information of the name of the vendor on the financial statements, which is not typically done on financial statements. Therefore, we break it down into the certain categories. If you know, for instance, who the vendor is for legal, and you see the legal number, you know who you paid. Again, if you want that further breakdown, I'd be more than happy to provide an additional report as an additional schedule to these financial statements that breaks down further. Part of the problem with breaking down and answering the question with regards to some of those management fees for this fiscal year is, as you recall, we had to go back all the way to July 1 of 2016 and reconstruct all of those transactions for 9 or 10 months. And the first go-around, we had some misclassified because we simply didn't know where they went. And after we had the trustee meeting, got some better clarification, so we made some adjustments. So it would take a little bit of time for this past fiscal year to answer some of those questions with regards to how much was paid to a certain vendor. Going forward, I believe that we have a better handle and a better understanding of who those vendors are and to properly classify those on the financial statements for you. But if you need a further breakdown, we're more than happy to provide it. And with that, I will ask if there are any questions that I can defer to Mr. Murray. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the information he provided on the Merrill Lynch is much more detailed than what you're going to see here. Because he does have that detail. We work from those statements to compile these financial statements. There's going to be a discrepancy in the balances he reports as of today versus what you see on the financial statements, because they're always going to be in months. Depending on the timing of your meetings, they may be 2 months. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was just going to follow up on Marcia's comment if I could.
Sure.
Because I do see the management fee broken down and then the medical fee expense below. Do you happen to know then if that is the prescriptions from Cerner?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It would be nice if we could separate those two costs.
If we know that breakdown, we certainly can do that. Again, we're working from the source document the same as Mr. Murray is with the Morgan Stanley that you all see.
Right.
So if we aren't given that information, we aren't able to break it down. We had a similar problem, as you recall, with allocating the revenue between patronage dividends, the RX rebates, true-up, claims audit. So all we get is a copy of the deposit slip and just says deposit. So unless we know the source of that deposit, we're unable to break that down. So we've asked, when there's a rebate, be labeled rebate. If it's a claims audit, that it gets labeled so that we can properly report it on the financial statements. Again, a lot of it is going to come from staff to be able to provide that information to us. Yes.
And so you made the comment about deposit. I'm just remembering my accountant daughter teaching me and slapping my hands 25 years ago. But so when you get it just says deposit, you have no way of
It's
determining.
a copy of the deposit slip that is sent to, I believe, Merrill Lynch, right?
So there's no.
Or Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley.
So if the district receives a check for something.
If the district makes a deposit to the Merrill Lynch account, all we get is a copy of that deposit slip with a total amount on it. That's what we're getting emailed currently.
So who knows what's included in that deposit?
Whoever made that deposit.
I get checks, swap account checks from Gilsbar. I get refunds. Now, Mike, I haven't been copying you on a spreadsheet that I give to...
No, all we get is a deposit.
Right, I do it for Dave and Mike.
Would you?
I will add you.
Please.
And I do the best I can to figure out. I have just columns. If it says refund or swap, that's where I put it.
So you don't know if it's from Jane Smith or
yeah, there's
XYZ company? Or?
Yeah, there's sometimes some detail attached. I don't provide that
I wouldn't
to
need
Mike,
the
but
detail of the individual.
No, I don't think you do. I just want to make sure that we're keeping track of it
source.
from somewhere. I mean,
Yes.
you have to have a copy of that.
Yeah, I have copies I just keep with my deposit, but, if anybody needs to see them, they're in a book.
Sure.
A copy every check. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
We do. That's what I mailed to Mike, Bonnie, and to Dave.
So if there was ever a situation where, and I think then that's what I had done, I think I had emailed you. My understanding was that if we had a question we could ask, and then the information would be dispersed or distributed to everybody on the board, but rather, because I can't put all the board members on there because that's.
So the questions would go through Mary to, and Mike Murray, and then Phil.
Right.
So that way.
And I have no, and don't get me wrong, I have absolutely no problem responding to those types of questions.
Oh, no, I think that's appropriate.
And back to Mr. Murray and then out to the trustees. If I have the information available to me from the records that I have or that we use to reconstruct, I believe going forward in this fiscal year, the financials are going to be much better than they were this year because of everything that we had to do in order to get them to the point that they are today.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Yeah, this
those
is a big
questions-
improvement.
Hopefully
as
we
far as
won't
I'm
have
concerned.
those questions going forward, that we'll be able to provide that information in the financial statements. And again, to reemphasize, if you want a separate schedule of the breakdown of specifically those management fees, we can provide
Right.
that as part of the financial.
But we can get them from your office?
No, he wouldn't
Or no?
have them.
Okay.
I mean, he can get them from me,
Oh, okay,
but he would not have, he doesn't have any more than you do.
right,
I have all of the detail,
okay.
and, you know, through Mike, you can ask, and we'll certainly give that information.
Great.
Would you like me to address the board in total, when, like, for example, just using today as an example with your email regarding, you know, what is the advance fee or the pay plus fee, what does that entail? Would you like me to just get the answer and then address the entire board, or address you individually as you send me that email? And I'll do it whichever way you would like me to do it. Just today I went right to you.
Yeah, I mean, and
because
I
you
didn't know what
had
those were. I didn't know what an ACH plus or plus pay or whatever was, and maybe somebody else may not know that either, so. But
My
that's up to you.
preference would be the board, just because I'm sure a lot of us have the same question at times. And it'd just be nice to know, because when she asked the question, I wanted to know what that answer was too.
So maybe could there be just a very quick agenda item there, maybe towards the beginning, to any questions that you may have asked over the course of the last 3 months that?
Yeah, if it pertains to the Morgan Stanley report, we can do it right on the financial statement, because that's informational reports there.
That works. I just want to make sure that if you want the information as a board, then I will provide it to all of you versus just go to the specific individual. I'm fine with that.
And then, so as far as like on this financial statement where we have, I think we've figured out that management fee, 71,000, and then last year, which would probably have been June, medical expense fee, 63. We think that that might be something to do with the prescriptions and supplies or whatever. But then under the professional fees, we have it broken out: management, benefit management, legal. That's pretty much direct. But then professional fee, other. Those, because I don't know what constitutes professional fees and what management and benefit management are, so that you
I
can.
can research that line item and respond to Mr. Murray.
I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, I appreciate that. That's really the only category that isn't very straightforward. The rest of it's.
Typically, that wouldn't be there, so my best guess without looking at the detail is that when we were doing the reclassification into the other categories, we missed something that probably belongs in one of those other areas, and we need to fix that. But I'll give you that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on the financial statements? All right. Then we will move to items for discussion and possible action. So 3.1, we start with the trust audit report. Who's presenting the audit report?
Well, it can only be one or two.
I don't have it in front of
Is that you, Dave, or is that?
No, I don't, I'm just the go-between here.
If I may address the trustees. I don't have it either. I have, because I requested it in order to compile all of this information. There was some balance sheet items like fixed assets and so forth, and things of that nature, and depreciation. So I know there was a lot of emails back and forth. The last I recall, there was a draft final version that was distributed that needed, all they needed from an email that I was part of, that I was copied on it only because I've been asking for information from the auditors. There were some dates that needed to be filled in on what's called a management representation letter, which basically is a letter from management to the organization being audited that says that management has provided certain things. That is a requirement that needs to be on the organization's letterhead and signed by an authorized member of the board and returned to the auditor. And it seems like there were a couple of other documents that the auditor was waiting for. I don't know if you've got them.
All those records have been submitted. The only thing that I understand that the auditor is waiting for to make this final was the sign-off between Mike and Carrie.
Okay. So,
There was an update I was supposed to receive on what changed on the fixed assets, and
that was done.
I was hoping that was going to be presented to me today.
I have questions that would have been
Well, it seemed like one of the significant comments was the internal controls or lack thereof. And this is for the year end June of last year.
Right.
And since then, I think there's been a lot of changes to that as far as implementing the controls internally with the reconciliations, stuff like that.
That was, we started off with just basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically a carbon copy of what we already received at the district level, even though the trust purchased an additional audit from Heinfeld Beach. What was supplied to the board, if I remember right, was almost, like I said, a carbon copy, if not a carbon copy of what we received at the district level.
word for word.
So then what happened, Mayor Nexon requested that there would be additional detail because at that time, and rightfully so, we were in the process of trying to put together a monthly financial for you to be able to view each month. We were building that from scratch and making changes along the way. And additional information was requested from Heinfeld Beach so that Mr. Monty would have the information that he needed to be able to put a decent or detailed financial report together for the trustees. So that's kind of where I saw the conversation going. It was just basically elaborating on what was already done in the audit and providing more detail so that Mr. Bonney could get the facts and figures in front of him to compile a nice monthly statement for him. I wasn't aware of.
I knew there was a question on the fixed assets, and Mark Nixon was going to get back to us, but I hadn't heard from him. But I also thought the auditor was going to send an explanation, so I could sign that off, vote on final approval of it, and sign off. I want to make sure that the fixed assets are correct because that's something that has been part of, that's been questioned. So we want to make sure that's correct before we finalize it.
I believe the fixed assets are correct
In this one.
based on the information that I've received from Mr. Stewart as well as from the auditors and the depreciation schedule that Mr. Nexon put together. I haven't seen any numbers that are any different than what's on this. That answers your question. And it's the same number that we use for financial statements.
So what you're talking about is, in this draft that's on page 14, the less accumulated depreciations and leasehold improvements, that negative 153,000, that was what we were waiting for. Was that on the furniture, fixtures, and equipment? And it hadn't been in there before, I don't think. Maybe that was the
I
question.
think that's the only change from the
Yes, if
prior
you look
meeting's
at
draft.
page 8,
8.
which is the statement of net position, you'll see under non-current assets, leasehold improvements, net of accumulated depreciation, $202,009, and that's 76,763. That basically was the discussion points from the original audit that did not have that information on, that Mr. Nixon brought to the board's attention, and then through Dave's efforts of compiling all of that information, coming up with that 278,000, whatever that number is, and then going back and calculating the depreciation for the year that was placed in service, I think 2012 forward, using the unexpired term of the existing lease as the length to depreciate or amortize those expenses. So from my position, I believe that what you have in front of you is the most accurate and latest financial statements and audit that is going to be available. I think all they're waiting for is the approval and somebody to sign off on the management rep letter. And it seems like there was one other document, but I don't know what it was.
And who do we find out that for sure?
Well, I have the rec letter that Mr. Murray and I will sign if we approve the audit today.
And Mr. Christensen is correct that in a separate letter, management discussion and analysis is where the auditor typically goes into things that they came across during their procedures to perform the audit, mostly internal controls, as you said, the bank reconciliation, lack of some internal control, things of that nature, that I believe the board has taken the necessary steps to address those issues and overcome those issues. So if whether it's included in the district audit going forward, or if the trustees decided to once again have a separate audit, those issues would not come up again in the audit. Based on what I'm seeing and from the meetings that I have attended, that a lot of those issues have been addressed. Typically, what organizations that I do audits for, I usually ask them to respond to that letter of, either agreeing or in what's going to be done to overcome those, or disagreeing in the reason why the organization disagrees with those findings. But again, that's simply up to your sort, simply up to the board and trustees to decide what you want to do from that point forward.
Any other discussion on the audit?
I have a question, Madam
Sure.
Chair. So the audit that was passed out to the board, I can't remember which, but it was the first draft audit. And I do notice a change, and I don't understand it. So originally, the cost of services was listed at 1.1 million, and now I see it's listed at 960,000. So that is a change from this audit when it was, on the latest one, it was page 17. On the original one, it was page 6 that was sent out. So, and then I still don't think that the question's ever been answered why the same concerns from the auditor were considered a material weakness December 29th of 15, and now they're only considered a significant deficiency. And I think those were questions that were going to be asked and answered, but I don't know if they have been.
I have not heard from the auditor.
And I know that we have made changes to the way we're doing it, so I'm not saying that, but it just concerns me that we paid this extra $6,000 for this audit for a cut and paste of what we already do. And I know I've said that 40 times or so, but it makes me concerned that they're changing the definition of the issue if it's the same issue. So that's my concern. And then, of course, this cost of services. And then this is just for my own, to say I said it, it's the first time I've ever heard that we're paying extra for RX prescriptions out of wellness. Now, I may have missed that, but never have I ever heard that we're paying $40,000 a month for RX that is being, or our prescriptions being dispensed out of the wellness center. So
Those always been a separate fee, and I wouldn't use the 40,000 because looking at the financial statement here is about 6,000 on this last one.
I see 145,000 for
Right.
the whole year,
For the
but
year. Yeah.
right.
So
But it's still news, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize we were, so it's really not free.
there's no copay to the employee,
I understand that.
and
It's a discounted price.
it's a discounted price as compared to what we would pay at the pharmacy.
And I think at last meeting, we actually asked, or it was me that asked, was because we have such a deep discount with Wisconsin RX, were the discounts that Cerner was able to get matching or, worse or better, or whatever, there was going to be some kind of a comparison for that.
I know we did send you information on our prescriptions. It's been a while back. That wasn't the last meeting. It's been a couple ago, but I know we sent you some information on meds, but I don't know if we have the data with.
Wisconsin RX said that they were comparable. But obviously, if you go outside the center to do that, you probably save a few dollars because you're going to throw copays at it. But other than that, it's pretty comparable price-wise.
If I remember, price for ingredient was the same, but we're saving the dispensing fee.
Correct. Well, dispensing and copays.
But the trust is saving
The trust is
dispensing
saving
fee.
copays.
The member's saving the copay,
Yes.
not the trust. You're right. It's the member saves the copay, and if you took the copay then away from the cost of the prescription drug, then yes.
Yeah.
But I think my particular question was having to do with the fact that Cerner negotiates, I'm assuming, because of the size of the company, and you have other on-site clinics or off-site clinics all over the country, that you negotiate some kind of a reduced cost for the meds that you recommend that you have on-site to dispense. And the question was, how does that compare to the discount that we get from Wisconsin RX? And could Wisconsin RX, if our discount was better, can we bring those on-site instead of?
The answer from Wisconsin RX is they cannot sell directly to Cerner or to the Health and Wellness Center.
We have to.
And sometimes our
Okay,
meds
why didn't
change
anybody
based
tell us
off,
that though?
based off members too, because I have the ability to add or delete medicines.
Right.
So for instance, right now we don't carry insulin because we weren't dispensing it a lot.
Right.
If we get more members with type 1 diabetes, that is something we could look at. So sometimes the fluctuation month to month could also be if we added in a new drug, we have enough members on it, or something goes generic that wasn't generic before. So that's why the cost might fluctuate a little bit. Some months we might dispense a little bit more than others. You got to think, winter months we do a lot of respiratory.
Sure.
And so your meds might
Antibiotics.
peak a little bit more during those seasons where we're treating flu and sinus and strep throat, where we're doing more antibiotics and nebulizers and things like that. We also give some injections in the clinic too when needed, like steroids and things like that as well. So that might explain a little bit of the fluctuation depending on the season, what we're treating, or if we add or delete something from the formulary. But all our medicines are generic meds. We don't carry any brand.
And you don't carry any narcotics. And again, just to confirm, Wisconsin RX said that the pricing was comparable. The difference would be the copay, and they cannot supply the on-site clinic. They can only supply pharmacies. So.
And are immunizations included in the RX cost when Cerner bills that?
No.
Those are stocked in your management fee.
Okay.
And there are, you got to think there too, we do give some pretty high dollar immunizations there, like the Gardasil, the shingles vaccine is very costly, so that is not under the med program, that's in the maintenance fee.
And that maintenance fee, I know I've asked a couple times, and I guess I still don't know that we ever got an answer. I know that part of the monthly fee is the salaries, of course, but all of these things like you're talking about now, is there a breakdown of that, a list? Can we know why, what all of that involves?
I don't have access to that. I could see if we could. We have our big meeting next month, so I can talk with my boss and see. I mean, I'm sure our financial department has something, but I do know it includes salaries.
Sure.
You know,
I would assume that,
supplies,
yeah.
And things like that.
But you understand what I'm saying, if I'm looking at a check that is written out of this district for $53,000 for 1 month, and I know that the salaries are probably $25,000, whatever they are, about half, then it's like, what is that, what's made up, you know, of that?
And I'm not aware, because I wasn't here when the clinic was first opened in 12, but was that all discussed with the trustees on opening and broke down at that point?
In terms of per person, no. Salaries are confidential
Well, I know,
information.
yeah. They will
Well, salaries are in our agreement with you, we know how much
Yeah,
the
they
salaries
won't
are.
give you salaries.
I don't care about that, I'm just looking at the other, the non-salary information.
I'll take that back and ask if they have.
And I think that would be important to know, you know, I mean, if I wrote a check for $50,000, well, if I wrote a check for $5,000 out of my paycheck or my
Well, a lot of
checkbook
this
of my
was
husband.
agreed on in the beginning, so I mean, there should have been some kind of breakdown when all this was developed.
Well, and again, the agreement that I've read, unless, you know, there's a copy of something that I haven't seen, the agreement itself does not have that broken down. So it'd just be nice to kind of ease my mind.
So back to the discrepancy in the 1 million and the 960,000. Does anybody have any reason why? Or do you even know what I'm talking about? Because you're probably looking at the most current one, but
Do
not
you have
the
the original one
I mean, I have it.
on page 17? Was it on page 17?
No, it's on page 6 in the original one. It was passed out. So this was the original independent audit that was passed out to the trust, and the cost of service was 1.113.
Right.
And this is the one that just went out.
And our service is not broken down.
Right. Well, that's part of what they did. That's the only change that I see in the original one. Oh, there you have it.
Would that be where the depreciation was brought down?
Well, these,
Because that's what we were
Well, then
reading
they
for.
changed
the
it.
cost of services was just
That's my
last
point.
gap
In
cash
here,
that I saw.
Probably read your report, you probably got more information.
But you know how
This is new. We never
These were
have
never
this.
negotiated at all.
That's new, but you
This
see this
number might
is the
have
When I
same
called him on
to
it,
change that number.
date,
and he fixed it.
That went up.
cost of service.
Medical.
Services
This
and
is the
supplies.
revised. And I don't.
There's something that.
I guess that's my question. That's a big revision, so I just wondered if
The
that's the
breakdown is
change.
included here.
I didn't have mine.
Similar breakdown in there. I don't have that original.
Well, I think when the original was passed out, that's when the breakdown was asked for. So this is a result of not knowing what the cost of service is, but that changed, so I wondered why.
My only guess, and it would be purely a guess, is that in doing that process, they were lacking some accounts payable when they did that first one, and they probably did some revisions with accounts payable that flipped some expenses from one year to the next. That's not an official explanation because I didn't do the audit.
I just would think if there was going to be that type of change, there would be a note in the final audit about the change.
We can certainly ask the auditor.
That would be great. I think they should do something for that 6,000. And then an answer on the material versus significant would be nice too.
Any other questions on the audit report?
I have a question on this final findings related, page 21, and then I think the rest of it's 22. And I think we've already discussed a lot of this, but is it, I mean, we feel confident that all of these significant deficiencies about, you know, this overstatement of cash and the, you know, not keeping the bank reconciliations and all that, we've remedied those things? Because this was the second year that I had seen those kinds of,
Well, that was the
I
purpose
believe
of
so.
hiring
Just
Mike.
with hiring Mike, and that was the original conversation when I came on board.
Right.
That I believe that was the route to go, so that we could at least get through a minimum of 1 year
Yes.
to develop a template that will help us be in compliance and to not have an audit finding like that again. His statement represents, it does show cash and it shows all of the expenditures on there as well. So I believe that should satisfy the auditors.
Okay. Okay.
Any final comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Or do we
I'll
need
make
to
a
get
motion
these
to approve it.
questions?
Second.
Question, do we need to have these answers about, before we can
Not
approve
to
this?
sign it, I can sign it, but we will certainly have her
I
give
wrote-
us
I wrote the
clarification.
2 questions down and we'll email her today or tomorrow morning.
Will they also insert all the blank dates in the document as well?
Yeah,
Because they're
it's-
blank.
it's the-
I asked them that, and they said as soon as they sign up on the management
We have
agreement,
to
they'll put
sign
it
the
in.
letter first.
Okay.
So we had a motion by Hal, seconded
Second by Pat.
Pat.
Okay, so you're ready. Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Hal Christensen,
Yes.
Pat Rooney,
Yes.
Sam Scarmato,
Yes.
Carrie Thompson.
Yes. .2 telemedicine for obesity management. Dave,
Well, that's Marcia's.
Marcia.
I had asked, well, I was actually going to meet with Dave on the 15th, and because I didn't think I was going to be here at this meeting, and so we changed our meeting time to after this meeting to kind of go over some ideas and things to find out, I guess, what you may have been able to find, Dave. I know you have been sending us an awful lot of information on telemedicine itself, which I appreciate, but as far as the specifics of doing the virtual visits for obesity management. So we can we'll talk about that, between us, I guess, this afternoon, and we can report back next month.
Okay, and are we looking to have a proposal because it's under action items? Is that the idea? Something for us to vote on, or is it going to be informational? I'm just curious where we think we are.
My point of bringing the whole thing up was because of the diseases and the claims that we have seen over the past couple of years that obesity is related to probably 95% of those. And virtual visits is such a huge asset to organizations. It saves costs, it helps the patients. In fact, we had, one of the people at the meeting, Stephanie, last month that said that, she'd been doing her meetings for 2 years and, had been very effective. And so I want to gather some information and put something together and entertain that. My initial thought is that because in the state of Arizona we have parity laws, which means they're going to pay the same for a covered service in a virtual setting versus a face-to-face, that the types of services that would be done for obesity management are preventive in nature, and so they would probably be covered under our plan anyway, that we would have to decide that.
And Dave, maybe you could answer, if we venture down this road, is this something that Gilsbar will manage?
No.
So it would be kind of like a separate entity piece?
Yes.
But why wouldn't they, it has a modifier code that identifies it as telemedicine.
Well, if it comes in as a medical claim and it's an eligible
Well, it is-
medical claim under
right.
section, then yeah.
And that would be the only type that I would personally be interested in, is it has a medical claim, has a CPT code. It's identified as a visit.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. If it comes in as an eligible expense, yes.
Okay, so this would be more us changing the plan, not
just the delivery.
not having
No,
a proposal.
no,
I
I
just
think
need
what-
to get it clear in my mind how
I
it
think
works.
what Marcia's referring to is, rather than go to a medical doctor here in town and seek services for weight reduction, you have a telemedicine
Yeah.
person doing that either by a virtual visit on your smartphone or on if you have a camera that you can do with a virtual visit, that virtual visit becomes a business or a medical expense that would then be processed by the trust and paid for by the trust.
So we would need to change our plan document.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
For the delivery only. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would also like to ask Laura and Chrissy to talk about the fact that members can go to the center and get coaching as well for weight loss.
Oh, sure. Well, you did that full plate plan, right? Yeah, and you've got another one coming up, I think.
Yeah, and we do coaching visits. And then Cerner's going to give you a little report on their telemedicine update next month that we have in the works. But some of these other companies too, I mean, there's a lot of telemedicine out there. It is an additional cost. And if Cerner already has one in the works, might be something to explore with Cerner as well.
But that telemedicine goes well beyond just quote-unquote weight management.
It's also urgent care. There's some things
That's almost like going to the doctor.
Yes.
Period. So that's a whole new ball game. That's not just weight management. That's teledoc, and it's becoming extremely popular across the United States.
It's here. I mean, it's we have 35 bills out in Congress looking at telemedicine right now. So, but I was just talking about specifically because it's obesity is a disease. It has counseling services that are covered under preventive services already in our plan, and it's simply the delivery method of it. And if we don't have a person in the community that is specializes in dietary surveillance counseling for obesity, you have an opportunity to have that member be able to see that specialist
And have it covered.
and have it covered. And we do cover, we already covered preventive services, and I think one of the last reports I saw from Bill's Board had some of those types of services already, that we've already paid on.
Yeah, I'd just like to see how that changes our plan document, so I can see how that would be applied within the medical plan.
Yep.
All right. Then under, well, we'll table until September. And we can report back on 3.2. 3.3, the revised EBT trust document. The last update I did receive is that the attorneys had not yet had a chance to get together to review that, but that is on their agenda. I haven't gotten a specific timeline. I don't know if we've heard anything additional than we did last week.
Yeah.
So.
I was on vacation, but from the email that I saw.
We just sent an update
They were
and-
still trying
yeah.
to, the two attorneys were still trying to
Coordinate their meeting. So we hope to have that then up for vote in September.
So I should leave it on the agenda?
Correct.
So the last minutes, or the last meeting we had on that was June 14th, and so they still haven't been able to get together.
Correct. I don't know
As an
exactly
update
when
on
it
that,
was
the
sent to
district's
the attorney.
Attorney has reviewed the document and has a recommendation that is,
Okay.
if they have not necessarily heard back from the trust attorney in that respect, so they haven't been able to connect, and in my conversation with her, she has not seen any recommendations from the trust attorney for areas of concern for them to discuss.
I see.
And so they are working on getting that scheduled when I contacted her last week.
And Madam Chair and members of the trust, I emailed the trust attorney to see if there was any correspondence going on, and I'm sorry I have not heard back.
I also emailed Ms. Sellers, and she just sent an email back that she had been on vacation and that she would be addressing that as soon as possible. But I have not heard of a specific date yet. All right, so then moving to 3.4, discuss approval of a setup fee with Gilsbar for our switch to United in Vision.
Yep. What I was asking Gilsbar, if they could, and I know Gilsbar has visited with United, but what I was asking Gilsbar to do is that if there was a way for them to build a bridge electronically between their eligibility statement, which Sherry keeps up on a almost daily basis, so that Gilsbar could send the eligibility statement to United. And then today, we also discussed that we probably, if we do that, or if the trust does that, then also maybe we can do the same thing, or the trust can do the same thing with the dental as well. And obviously, the purpose of all that is so that Sherry and or Bonnie, when they go in to add and or terms, they do it at one spot, and that's Gilsbar. Then Gilsbar feeds that out to both Emeritus and to the United Healthcare for eligibility. So now, the savings to that is that Sherry and Bonnie don't have to go into the life and or the dental and or the vision. And
Before I'd have to go in and do the same.
and so I was asking them if it would be possible to build a bridge, and they indicated yes, it would. And it's going to cost probably anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 to do that. So that's an expense the trust would have to incur. Now, keep in mind that the trust deleted the EAP product, which saved the trust about $12,000. And then they also, on the vision alone, are going to save close to $35,000 on the vision alone. So $3,000 to me is a kind of a drop in the bucket to be able to relieve these two ladies from having to do all that work with all the other work they have to do, but that's up to the trustees.
Now, my original email, and it doesn't look like I can pull back very far, but that was a significant increase in cost from what was given to me.
Because
I was told around $500.
Initially, the quote was $500. I got a telephone call saying, well, it's more than that. It's going to be much higher than that. So I'm just projecting somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000.
And that's a one-time fee?
And that's a one-time fee. It's just building electronic bridge between the providers, the carriers, the vendors.
My suggestion would be if we make a motion for that, we put a limit on the cost.
And Gilsbar, would they supply us with a quote?
I could get the actual number, but again, remember, if you've ever worked with a computer company, until they get into the weeds, they really don't know what it's going to be.
But we do need to get that approved.
And it's a per hour situation. What they look at it is a per hour cost. If you've got a computer program and they're working on it, and they're paying that computer programmer X numbers of dollars, and then all the rest of that, that's what they're looking at. So, that was initially the estimate was 4, and then our Gilsbar rep said, no way, and so she backed it down to about 3,000. So, but again, if you want Sherry and Bonnie to go in 4 places and put it all in there, then that's up to you guys.
I would be okay with the expense. I mean, obviously we can talk as a board if it were not to exceed 3,000. Anybody else's feelings?
I could be much more productive not having to repeatedly go into 4 different, areas every time I have to enroll a person.
Or terminate.
Or terminate. I have to go into,
Or change.
And it was nice when we had the other vision because Gilsbar, when I enrolled through Gilsbar, it was the medical and the vision. Now that we went to United Healthcare, I have to do that one separate. And now Unum we did separate anyway for life, but now Guardian's coming on. I'll still have to probably do that separate, right? Maybe. And Emeritus, the dental, I have had to do it, but I was questioning why, why can't it be, all one? And then I found out that it was.
And there's no way that United can coordinate with Gilsbar and do this?
They want to. United wants to.
United's not going to, unfortunately, United's not going to change the way they do business.
But they want to, they said, well, how come they aren't tied to Gilsbar? When I talked to James, he's, so that they could get the...
So they would love to be able to,
they want
but
to.
you have to build,
you
the gap, or
I understand.
the
the bridge or whatever,
the
computer,
either way,
all
I know.
computers don't talk to everybody.
No,
I think
I
we should be
know,
able
but
to
yeah,
narrow it down to
that's,
15
yeah,
or
United
10,000
Healthcare
is a
want,
pretty big
when I
area.
talk to them,
They would be happy
they'd be
to.
happy to do
$50
it.
an hour, that's 10 hours.
But it would mean that you would still have to do the keystrokes.
I would just do the one. I would go into Gills Bar, I believe, and put it all in there, and Gills Bar disperses it to United Healthcare, Emeritus.
See, we
Possibly
built that
Guardian.
bridge a few years ago with our RX company. The RX company gets the feed from Gills Bar as far as eligibility is concerned. That was done a long time ago. But now we've moved to Emeritus and we've moved to United, and now we're moving to Guardian. And so I'm thinking to reduce the workload on the staff, if we can get Gills Bar to build a bridge, electronic bridge between these vendors, to me that would, not only would it save time, it will save mistakes.
But I guess I'm confused, I'm sorry. I thought you just said that United was willing to work with Gills Bar and that you would only have to do one entry and
Right.
Gills Bar would do everything.
Right,
And then-
United, right, United,
But we would have to pay this $3,000
Right.
to set it up.
right.
Okay, that's the part I misunderstood.
yeah.
I heard United was happy to do it, but I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
they are to work with Gills Bar for that bridge, so that they can get the data from them as opposed to me having to go in.
Right.
Yeah.
But United can't accept the current eligibility that Gills Bar spits out.
Right.
So Gills Bars have to go in and reprogram a bridge electronic bridge between the two, and that's where your money comes in.
Got it.
Well, I think the consensus is, it's probably something that should be done, but earlier someone said between 1,500 and 3,000. Well, that's a big variance. I mean, if they're going to fix my truck and they say it's going to be between 1,500 and 3,000? No. So I would think, I mean, I don't have a problem with a not to exceed, but it would sure be nice. I mean, I would think you'd say, okay, if you charge $150 an hour, it's going to take 10 hours to do this. They should be able to, I would think, narrow it into some sort of frame that we could get a better idea of cost.
Yeah, that's a big
I'm projecting that United is about 1,500. If we throw Emeritus in there, you're probably looking at another 1,500, and that's where I came up with 3,000. So if you want to put a max on it, I'm happy to go back and consider
But we
that.
weren't talking about Emeritus, though. We were talking about United.
She's saying if we
I have to do
one
all, yeah.
together,
That's
she
my
wants them
point.
all
Can't
to
they
be
do that?
together.
That's what I'm
So
asking.
that's why originally. we were
Okay, but that's
talking
a
about
different conversation,
Today,
though.
so we don't have to
Right?
wait for
For
another
my-
meeting.
Well, it would seem that if we built
It
Makes sense
this
to
at
do
one
it. I was-
time,
Yeah.
we would just do it at once.
Just a wide variance, that's all.
Will that bridge remain for as long as we're with those particular companies, so we can use that for all throughout the year after year after year?
As long as you stay with those carriers, correct. Because once it's done, it's done.
Could we go the route where we have them come in, because like you're saying, you got to get into it to know what you got to do, which makes sense. I run into that all the time, but can we have some kind of diagnostic fee or a fee that's much smaller that he can get in there and look and say, listen, this is what it's going to cost you for completion?
Well, they had kind of started down that road, and that's when they initially given me the $500, and then I got a telephone call and saying, hey, this is much more complicated than we anticipated. We need to pump that up. And that's why I didn't put a number down here, because this call came this week. So I'm just guessing somewhere, and this is just a guess, between 1,500 and 3,000.
But we think that the reason why it's more complicated is because United has different fields that are filled out.
Yep.
And so they need to match or create fields to
Correct.
enter.
Correct. You have to
And now
build the
you're also
software
talking
to
about
fill in their
American-
fields.
Yeah, I got that.
Is this kind of a drop-in matrix that brings these different providers in?
I'm sorry?
Is this kind of like a drop-in matrix where they bring these different providers in, or is it something that that the provider is going to integrate to all the different websites and different?
Well, it's not necessarily a website, it's a direct feed to
Oh.
United, or a direct feed to Emeritus, or even to Guardian as well, of the eligibility, so that when Sherry goes in, Sam Smith gets in the system, it goes to Gilsbar once. I mean, you could turn this around and say, okay, United, we want you to feed our eligibility to Gilsbar, to Emeritus, and to Guardian. But they don't do that. That's not their, that's not their area of expertise. Whereas Gilsbar is saying, we'll do it, but it's going to take computer programming to get it done. And we estimate X numbers of dollars to get it done.
Well, where I'm going to on this is this something that's going to be continually charged back to the trust, or the one time, it includes the management and maintenance and everything?
Mm-hmm. It's a one-time charge, as I understand it. That's what I asked, is it a one-time charge? Yeah, one-time charge. It's just building that bridge between, now, unless United decides to change their computer system, I don't think they're going to do that, but that I can't say that they wouldn't ever change their computer system, which might throw a monkey wrench in the works of sending out eligibility to United, but for the long foreseeable future, I could see that once it gets built, it's just a matter of transferring data back and forth.
Can I ask a question? I'm curious, Gilsbar is our management company, is that correct?
No, it's a third-party claims administrator.
Third-party claims administrator.
And they process all the medical claims, they pay all the bills except the prescription drug.
Okay. And so, as a part of our contract with them, it wouldn't be normal for them to process the claims from the vision or the dental?
Correct. Well, now, let me go back.
Claims, it's enrollment.
They're talking about eligibility, not claims. So they're adding another level of
So that's
services
usually
from Gilsbar, which is not normally eligibility.
Okay, thank you. I was not clear on that.
I'm not clear on the way this whole thing's going to work, because it seems like if they're going to integrate all these services together, $1,500 to $3,000 is a bargain. And I mean, to me, it's like, how long could this thing last? This could be something that could be 1 year, or it could fall apart in 6 months, and we're out to $1,500, $3,000, or it could be something that lasts for the foreseeable future, in which case, like I said, it'd be a screaming deal.
I've been down this road before. In fact, there are companies out there right now that are selling what they call onboarding, in which you buy a software system as the employer. You buy a software system, you load all the information into that software system, and then you feed it out to the various carriers. If you have 5 carriers, you feed it out to all the various carriers. There's those programs out there. Gilsbar, who pays our claims, pays all the bills, or cuts all the check to all the bills, except for your prescription drugs, which are debited to your account, has said, we will do it. We will build that bridge. We will build that electronic bridge, but you got to pay us for the time to build it. And that's where the $1,500, $3,000 comes in.
And so my question with regards to Gilsbar, because our agreement with them does not include verifying benefits eligibility. So is Gilsbar going to come back and say, well, we need another 50 cents per member per month to do that?
I don't think so.
Well, I think I'd probably want to make sure, because it is, I mean, I understand it in the way of when you're in a doctor's office and you have an electronic medical record system with, I call it pinging for eligibility. There's 360 some different codes, they call them service codes, that are on the back end. So the insurance company's back here and the doctor's office is here, and they push a button and it comes here and says, yes, that person has coverage, or no, they don't. I'm assuming that that's the code that they have to write to do this. So the question is, if Gilsbar is going to be pushing that button, instead of you having to do it 4 times, okay, you're doing it once and then they're doing it, now we're up to 2, because they're going to do the dental and the vision.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, so.
And life.
And possibly life. We haven't talked to Guardian. They won't even be on board till September, but, right? It's
If you're
something.
going to do it, you might as well do it.
Yeah, if we can.
I know, but now you're
Yeah.
saying 3, and we got 1,500 to 3,000 for 2, so, I mean, it just, this.
Well, again, if for example, Guardian doesn't have such a complicated system, it might be just a matter of 2 or 3 hours to plug something in there. Again, I don't know. I was talking to Sherry this morning, and I says, are you uploading eligibility into Emeritus? And she said yes. I said, oh, okay. So then I went from 1,500 to 3,000.
Yeah, we started with United Healthcare, because they're the vision, they're new. And when I had like 60 new employees come in, I finally got them in to the medical, because I thought that was so important. Then I just started getting them into the dental, and I still have a pile to go into the vision. So that's when I talked to this James at United Healthcare, and I'm like, this is so odd. Why do I have to like put in each one?
Because you have 4 different companies.
Yeah, and he said, well, we can certainly talk to Gilspar. We'd love to be able to, have an interface. And then I kind of...
I'm sure they would, because Gilsbar could use it for more than just us.
Possibly.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you from my experience is that Gilsbar has this system set up. They're going to recode they're going to write the code for this on the back end, and they will be able to ping anybody that has that plan anywhere that they are the third-party administrator. And so now we're talking about doing that for 2 different or maybe 3 companies. And all of that information, once it's in Gilsbar, it's not unique to just us, I don't think. I've never seen it that way. I mean, it's like 300 doctor's offices pinging United Healthcare to see who's eligible. It's all in the same thing. And we would be paying for them to write that code.
But then you'd never know how many folks are going to buy United Dental or United Vision and Emeritus Dental, so I'm not sure they're going to be able to use that anywhere else. The only way they'd be able to use that anywhere else is if another client had Emeritus of theirs, had Emeritus, and they built a bridge for Emeritus, or they built a bridge for United if another employer that they work with had United for Vision.
So is this, I'm just curious, is this news that our staff had to enter in? Like, are you surprised that our staff had to enter this information in?
No.
Oh, okay, because it sounds like...
No, I'm just trying to help the staff.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think you weren't sure about the dental.
Well, see, I thought maybe they could do an 834 file, and an 834 file is supposed to be a universal file that you can send that is computer language. I don't understand it because I'm not a computer person, but apparently either United can't accept an 834 file, and so they want you have to build a bridge between the two.
And before the old Vision, the ESP or whatever we had, it was done through Gilspar.
Vision Care Director was done through Gilspar.
Yeah, and now United.
The eligibility was.
Yes.
Well, because they paid the claims.
They paid the claims.
And since they paid the claims, all the eligibility was the same.
United Healthcare,
Probably
they
why you're
don't.
getting charged is because Gilspar doesn't pay our claims for Vision. It's going
Right.
to be through United.
Or
that's why.
or dental, you said, right?
More dental.
Okay. It was just to enroll.
So
Just
not
trying to
part
get
of
them
the
enrolled.
Would
all
a
at
change
once.
like this change the Emeritus contract, the Vision
has no
contract? It
effect
has
on
nothing to do with the contract.
It could change the Gilsbar, though, if they're doing more work.
No,
And that
because
was-
we're paying for this service separate.
Seems very archaic.
We don't have anything in our Gilsbar, I don't think, saying that they're going to verify benefits, though.
I know, that's why we're paying this separately. And why we
Doesn't
need a
seem
motion
kind
to
of
approve it.
archaic to you?
It's outside of our contract
19th
because it's not
century.
included.
whole thing.
So if there were a change to the contract or an amendment, that would go through you, the board?
Yep.
Yes, and that had to be voted on.
Can you approve it if you decide to approve it with contingency? So that way,
Yes.
if we can roll forward with a not-to-exceed amount for all carriers, not just 1, 2, 3, but just a dollar amount for the entire project.
Not for the each, for the entire project.
What's that?
For the entire project, not for the each.
Yeah.
Correct, not to
Yeah.
exceed this dollar amount for the entire project, and
Yeah,
then
'cause-
also with contingencies that should we find out that Gilsbar may be charging an additional fee per member per month or whatever because of this pinging on the back end, we might be able to put the brakes on and come back and revisit it.
I would not allow them until renewal in next year, in 2018. I would not allow them to change their per month cost for administering the claims. This is a computer-generated expense. That's it. Under their contract, they cannot change their per monthly, per employee, or their per employee per month fee for paying claims and paying bills. They can't. We have it under contract. This is additional work that we're asking them to do. And it's computer work only,
And that's for 2018, you said?
2017-18. And it's a one-time fee to build that bridge.
Do you feel that 3,000 would be an acceptable limit, Dave?
I would negotiate hard to not exceed 3.
Well, that's the motion.
Well,
so
looking
it's-
forward, I would say this needs to be included as an integral part of any RFP we put out.
Does Gilsbar have any onboarding software that they use?
I don't know that question.
No, there are some software companies out there that Employee Navigator. I am constantly called, sent emails and requests for onboarding software constantly. Almost every day I get a solicitation for onboarding software. And some of them I think are great. You're going to be paying, and it's not something that they necessarily sell to you. It's a per member per month fee to use. There's one with Employee Navigator that the fee to do that is about 10 grand. One time every year 10 grand. And then you'd put it all into Employee Navigator, and then Employee Navigator would spit it out to the carriers, and if the carrier couldn't accept it electronically, they'd send an Excel spreadsheet to them. So that's one. Then there's others out there that charge per member per month to do the onboarding, and again, same process. You would go into their software, put all the information in, and then they would spit it out to the various vendors, either electronically or by an Excel spreadsheet. And those are generally, you pay per member per month, and there's no cutoff. But in this case, all we're asking is Gilsbar to build a bridge between the various vendors.
So one of my questions is, you're right in the middle of enrollment now, right?
Well, yeah, we just had, new hires, open enrollment's over, other
Right.
than we have to have an open enrollment for Guardian now.
Because
This
of the
month.
change, the effective date for the,
Right,
yeah.
we went from, so I have to do that this month, that'll be effective 9/1. So that would be, if there's any changes to the current employees, if they have any changes, and of course, all the new hires, if they want any voluntary plans.
Right, so the question is, if what we're talking about is, and we don't know how long it would take for this bridge to be built.
Right, yeah, I'm basically
So the
done.
question is, you're going to have to do all of this stuff anyway until they get it built?
I do,
Okay.
I do.
But it will help for next
But
year.
as soon
Oh, yeah, it
as
would help
the
for
May
next
open enrollment
year.
comes in, then you'd be
Right, by next May, I think, when we do open enrollment. Oh, yeah.
Changes all year.
Oh, there's changes all year, there's terminations all year, but yeah, the heavy
The
influx
big-
is now. And then from May through September-ish, this is when it can be real heavy. And then as people leave or add, qualifying events,
Yeah.
But if you do, then each qualifying, they have to do it for all 4, but I haven't kept track of how many, outside of this time period, so.
Do I have a motion? Nobody want it?
Is it a deal? You thought it was a deal? I don't know what it is, I don't know what I'm looking at. That's the trouble, basically, it's as he says, she says, I don't know. That'd be the guy to know right there.
We still have questions before the motion is. So the only hesitation, or one of the hesitations I have, I know that, obviously there's an expense involved when it comes to, coding program software, all of those things, building the bridges, I get all of that part. It feels like, though, that we're trying to get a solution, pay for a solution now that we're not going to have to use for a year.
What it includes and what they're going to do.
And I'm wondering if we have a little bit of time to maybe look into this a little further and get some more detail on the specifics from Gilsbar and maybe from these other companies on, is it really that much? Or, is there something you guys could do, work together, since you're going to be now able to verify all of his benefits, because verifying benefits isn't their claim to fame, it's, processing claims. So I guess my thought is if it was something that you could plug it in tomorrow and you would save 40 hours of work, I would not have any hesitation.
Yeah,
But it doesn't sound.
if I could do it now, but
Yeah, but I don't
it's not
think
gonna happen,
because
so.
this kind of stuff is, what do we need? How do we figure it out? What's the programming? Let's code it, do that. So I don't know how long that's going to be, but it's not going to be tomorrow and it's not going to be next week.
Right, so
So
yeah, I know. it's not
my
gonna work
concern
out.
is, are we voting on something that maybe we need to do a little more research and implement it down the road to prepare for next year? That's my only.
And maybe as we're looking at financial software solutions, that can be a question about whether they have an onboarding process that would handle something like this as well.
Yeah, we can definitely ask those questions. I think it sounds like, though, it's more of a communication issue between Gillsbar and the other carriers, but
We have a meeting on the 27th of September. Couldn't that be?
One input, one touch point, that would be nice.
We have a meeting in September. Couldn't we have all that back by then?
Well, and then we can get a better cost breakdown.
Yeah,
of what
my
that
concern is, I don't have a problem with the not to exceed 3,000, but 0 to 3,000. But if they go through it and they go, yeah, we can't do this, but here's a bill for $600 for looking into it, that's my concern. If it's going to cost 3,000, it sounds like it's money well spent. But we don't know that. We don't know that ahead of time.
And if you can't use it right away, it doesn't seem like there's a big.
Right. I would have liked you to have it last month.
I could use it now.
Because I
and
appreciate
probably
that.
next month.
I've been
it's
in
not
your
gonna
chair and
happen.
your fingers get
Right,
sore.
yeah, so, okay.
So could we have a motion to table it till the September meeting then? or- So
Who's
moved.
going to be looking into it? Is that
Oh.
Dave? Is that
I'll be happy
something?
to, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have to have a motion?
No, I think we just table
Okay,
it.
just table it, okay. All right.
Right, postpone, not table.
Okay, 3.5 is to discuss election of committee members to evaluate the RFPs being considered for the employee benefit consultant. So have we had a breakdown on how many members we want on that evaluation committee?
We'll leave that up to the trust, the board.
Is this going to be a shared,
I don't
like
think we should
the
have
document?
too many, but I think we should have, I'll leave that up to you, but I believe that each of you as board members will be working very closely with that particular consultant. So I'll leave that up to you as to who on the board, your trust board, you'd like to appoint, if not all of you. I believe there should also be representation at the district level as well, meaning governing board, and myself, I'll obviously be included in on that.
I would say that this is your decision as a board.
I agree.
I don't think we should have a committee, I think we should all look at them.
I'm not opposed to looking and giving input. At the end of the day, this is your decision as a board. This is where you're entrusted.
I understand that part, but the business office here also works very closely with who the consultant is. And I just want to make sure that the committee we form has representation from more than the EBT board. And I was wondering if that was going to, if you want the board setting that up, or if that was going to be the district making a recommendation to us.
We issued the RFP on behalf of the district.
Right.
But that choice, I will be part of that committee as the one who, coming from the business office, I'm sure Mary may, depending on her workload at the time, would probably be a representative too. But for sure myself, and I would welcome each of you. I don't want to say that, give me 3 out of 5, but I'll leave that up to you. If you want to appoint 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5. Or
Well, my recommendation is that the entire board here would be able to review that. But I would like to include, and we can definitely have the 2 of you be the district representation, but I would also, if a board member is interested in reviewing that also. I don't mind that invitation being out either. But I didn't know if that was going to be the district setting up that committee or us. So,
We'll follow your
And do we need a
direction, because it
committee,
is
though?
your, I mean, he or she will be a consultant on behalf of the board. So I would like to let you take the lead on that, and just know that we will have district representation on the board or on the committee as well.
And I appreciate the offer to the board, extended to the board, I do. But we, the four of us, spent a lot of time going through that trust document, and I think the one takeaway is that the board wants the trust to run the trust.
Right.
On the inside, with the exception of the appointments as intended in the original document. So I think it's good that the business director, of course, would be there, and maybe if the superintendent wanted to be there, and Mary, of course. But I don't know that there should be a committee like the school district is used to having committees for everything.
Like
I
our trust
really
document
think,
committee?
yeah, I
Yeah, we
think
don't-
it should be the trust board and the finance director.
You should be getting input from the.
If you get the school board reps in here, you're going to have, and it goes beyond being very much of a small committee, we're going to be doing it again next year, all the way till next year. It's going to be just, I mean, I'm not talking about next year doing it again, we're going to do this one all the way till next year.
I have confidence in, you know, the trust board making that decision because,
With us and-
yeah, and my,
but I don't know that we need to vote on a committee because I think we
Sure.
would all want to be involved in that process.
Correct. During the review process, what will happen is each of us who are sitting down and reviewing the RFP applicants, the applicants for EBT consultant, will each have a scoring sheet for each of the applicants or each of those who turn in their proposal, and we'll score them individually, and then we'll review and eventually rank the consultants, the applicants, and can make a determination at that point.
Right.
Do you have timeline on when we would set up a work session to do that?
That's all spelled out in the RFP. I
It
mean,
is.
there was a page in there that actually gave the applicants a timeline as to when the RFP was due back to the district office. It gave them an estimated date as to when the RFPs would be reviewed, and then when it would go before the EBT board. I believe that was in
October,
was it
November.
September's meeting or October, and then it would also go before the governing board.
I think it'll go to the governing board in
In
October
October.
after that. But it's the week of August 28th is when, in the RFP, that's when it says the evaluations will happen, the week of August 28th.
Right.
Okay, so then clarify for me again, what would be going to the governing board?
Was it, I believe you
Or
were
it should be
recommending.
coming to us?
No, you would make the recommendation and approve the consultant. I believe it would go to the governing board by way of information.
yeah, I don't.
Okay,
Not for
I'm
vote.
sorry, I was
Not for a vote,
misunderstanding that.
Not for a vote,
Okay.
just by way of
FYI.
information.
Okay,
I'm sorry, that was me misunderstanding because we as a district are issuing the RFP. So that's,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it says a district, it doesn't say the employee benefit trust, it says it's the district issuing an RFP.
Right.
So that's why I may have been mixed up about that. So there is no vote by the governing board.
No.
It's just the EBT board, and then they'll just bring the final decision to the
They'll
board.
just tell us what they decided.
okay.
So,
So no.
No action needed on 3.5, we don't need a vote. All of us would be able to.
I won't be here on August 28th.
I don't know if that's on that date, do they?
No, it's a week. There's a whole week's time, or specific period of time to review everything. It's not just one day to review them all. You have a period of time to review everything and do your,
The RFP is due the 28th, and then you have time from then.
And I would
so anybody
just be in
bidding on it has
contact
to-
with Mary
has to
when
be
you
in
look
by the
at possible
28th.
review dates.
I don't
do
know
we
if
want
they've been out
to
there.
do it where we have them just
2 days.
sitting in a room?
2 days?
And you make an appointment and
I
you
think
sit
they
and
should
look
run a
at
little
them?
longer than
Or
that.
do you all want to do it together? You know, there's different ways to do evaluations. If you know what I'm saying, we could have them in a room.
Maybe I can set up a meeting with Mr. Murray. And then
For the sake of convenience.
just
that's
deciding
always
like
nice,
date and
but To
structure.
give you a week's window or
Yeah.
whatever it is to come in, because I know most of our board members have jobs and obligations outside of school and even in school setting. So sometimes that, having a window of where you can come in and actually do your own evaluation at your own convenience helps. There's also power in individually doing it with actually all of you there present in a room such as this, but really truly to make sure that an evaluation is done to where there's really no compromise to it, where it's truly you evaluating that individual, I believe it's best done independently. Because when you have multiple people in the room, you might say, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? And then all of a sudden, that person's getting 50 points in that one area, and you're getting them 50 points also, because you're kind of talking about it and coming to a consensus and scoring them like. I would say there's power in doing it more individually, because then you get a true rating, and then we bring all the ratings together, we add them all up, and then you rank them according to
Maybe
where
we
you
could gather
score.
them all and then bring everybody together for the discussion.
Yes, at the conclusion of that rating process, when we discuss and actually rank them all, that would probably be very appropriate to do that at that point.
Okay.
So is there a reason that they can't view them independently online, that they have to come in and sit down and physically read a hard copy, or if you're going to come together at the end?
All the bids are sent to your office.
More than
And
likely, we will get hard copies of some of those. Some of them may be sent electronically, but
But
more than likely, we'll get a
didn't you
hard
require
copy.
they be on a CD also?
Some, yeah, we requested that in there.
Or thumb drive, either or, I think.
I guess what we could do is, once we receive them all, is go ahead and scan them and upload them, and then make them available to the committee to review, and with the accompanying scoring sheet. And then that way, you can do it in the comfort of your own home too. I would imagine that would be appropriate as well.
On the beach?
So we can do that. We can look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to make it. We want to make sure that we safeguard the process and we do it the right way, but we don't want to inconvenience everyone either. So if we can do it that way, which I believe we're fine with doing it that way, we'll make that available to you. So I'll communicate with you as we get closer to how that process will work.
Good.
All right, and then in 3.6, we had an update on the utilization analysis per 1,000 members from Gillsbar. I did print that out from my email, but did you get any update?
Yeah, I sent it out to everybody, or it was sent out to everybody.
Yeah, it looks like this, right? Is this
Yep.
the-
I think. Okay, so this was when we had asked, or the question had come up, actually, I think it was from John, on our utilization the last 5 years in office visits. And the report given to us at the last meeting, the data didn't make sense, and this one does make a lot more sense. So they verified, went back, and we do have numbers that I would like to share. On the office visit side, which is what we picked specifically to see what our decrease was now that the center is in effect. In 2012, we had 2297 office visits, and that has steadily decreased until this last year. It is down to 1547. The benchmark is 2400. So we can kind of see, obviously we're utilizing the center for the general office visits in that direction. So that was the actual numbers. Maybe then this can be shared with Cerner. They could give us maybe some further information then when we get their report in September.
Okay. Is that adjusted for, a smaller amount of employees
Yes,
as well?
so
Okay.
that's why it was averaged at per 1,000 members when they set this up. So without the Gillsbar rep exactly, though, that would be nice if they could expand upon that. The routine wellness office visits have gone in 2012 from 427 down to 328. I'm assuming that's probably pediatric wellness and women's wellness for the most part would be where we still see an OB/GYN in there, but we still see a decrease in that, so that's down a bit. The most interesting, which was I thought was nice, wasn't necessarily part of what we asked in the analysis, but they did do our inpatient hospital days, and we can kind of see our trend is finally going back down because we had those catastrophic couple years where we had many large claims. So in 2012, we had 473 inpatient days. In 2013-14, we had 482, and those were our two worst years. Since we've seen a significant decrease, we were lower in 2015-16 at 189, this past year at 197, but much lower. So hopefully we're kind of on the bottom of that sine curve. And we can stay there a while before that curves back upwards, but good for our major medical costs. And then emergency hospital I see is staying pretty consistent, but the good part, I guess, was that it was under benchmark. So hopefully that's a indicator of our wellness program, but I think we've got to correlate many different pieces of information to kind of look at that as a more accurate picture.
Well, and you've got wellness, and the reason why this becomes important is this now sets you a benchmark to start studying cost. And what does the wellness center actually cost the district, because this will be your benchmark to understand where that shift point is.
And I would like to see this type of report from Gills Bar continue. I think this was a good idea to get started and continue to follow, because I think these are the major trends. We want to make sure office visits are going down. We hopefully want to see hospital inpatient days go down with a wellness program, and kind of keep tracking that to kind of see that we stay in line.
But I'd like to see you guys follow that through to the next step and actually develop the cost analysis of the wellness center to see where the actual wellness section of it is and where the...
I do too.
Because it's not all wellness.
And we've asked Cerner to present a lot of that in September, so I want to wait for their presentation in September to compare to that. And then if and when we see that, if we see then what we need to study further, I'd be more than happy to recommend that.
Well, and one of the things that I think is going to be in the report for next meeting is the specific diseases codes.
Yes,
You're
yes,
working
yes.
with Gilsmore on that. And I had looked at, I just pulled the first quarter of 2016 before I came out. In the first quarter of 2016, there were 847 visits in one of the reports that you sent us.
Okay.
So I would just kind of, I mean, even if you just doubled that and assume that, you know, you had very few, you know, in a whole year, that's another 1,600 or more visits happening at the Health and Wellness Center compared to this. So my only concern was that the benchmark for office visits at 2,400, but if we add all of the visits into Cerner, we're way over that.
Yeah, that's why I'd like to see the comparison between the two and see where we correlate to benchmark, but we can't do that until September.
Well, and one of the things you may find is that the way that this has been incentivized may have pushed the numbers a lot higher on wellness visit and how that site gets utilized. It may be that our dividend there is in the urgent care position much more than it is in overall wellness.
But that would be a good analysis to look at.
As we were looking at the cohort data, there was some question as to what exactly constitutes the cohort. Are we talking about only comparing the members who were members 5 years ago or 6 years ago? Because there was some confusion as to exactly the information that you were asking for.
Typically what we see from Cerner is they report both to us. They will report our cohort, which is the original group that's been through the wellness program the entire time, and then they will report all eligible members. And you usually see the cohort groups a little healthier because they've had more time to work on these things, and because we have a turnover rate, so we have a lot more brand new employees. But they usually report both of those to us so we can make those comparisons.
Because I was looking at the names that they were mentioning in the cohort group, and some of them were like new hires from last year or 2 years ago, and we were questioning that. So
that would
I just
be
want to make
something
sure
to
that
analyze.
we were
Then, yeah.
giving you exactly what you were asking for.
Okay, that was my assumption. As cohort always meant
The
original
original
group.
group that should never go up and should only gradually decrease as members.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I had a question just on that cohort group, because the way I read the reports for the past almost 2 years is the cohort group is, they say that it's healthier, but it seems the cohort group was always pretty healthy, with a few exceptions. So I don't understand it. It looks like they've maintained it, but it almost seems like it's being, so I would like some clarification in what it means the cohort group is healthier, because
It'd be interesting to see overall, because I know the cohort group, the one area that I do know we saw the significant decrease was in cholesterol and high blood pressure. I do not know if we saw significant increases in some of the others like diabetes, and that's where Marcia's
the 5 major.
Yeah, diagnostics comes in, and where we'll be able to compare.
We're in the middle of putting all that data from 2012. Here's the stuff, 2013, and going through the process of getting those exact numbers or averages. Or
Other questions? Good. Okay, and then 3.7 update on life rates, Dave.
As you recall, when we were looking at the quotes coming in from the carriers with regard to the life rate, we had a significant reduction in the premium for the district-paid life insurance. The concern was, what were the members going to have to pay for the voluntary piece? And so you asked me to go back to Guardian and see if they would match the current rates so that the employees would not have to pay higher numbers. Guardian is saying they're matching the current rates, which you said something this morning.
Well, I glanced at them because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to have to change like all these voluntary rates? Because Guardian, did they go down? I think I noticed they were all pretty much the same, but the Guardian group is like 30 and under, where Unum was like...
Their brackets, their age
Yeah, so I
different.
think, and I don't have time, I didn't have time yet to even go through it, but...
But Guardian,
Yes.
Guardian swears up and down they matched.
For the most part, it was just that one
Yeah.
group I need to investigate.
Yeah, probably the under 24, and I think...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Yeah. Because I went back to them and said, wait a minute, you didn't match that rate, and they came back and said, you're right, we'll match it. So the rates are matched.
Okay.
But we do appreciate if you double check that before we answer. That would be
good. Yeah, I need to
measure twice, cut once.
And basically, we requested, just yesterday, we requested a eligibility file from Unum, which shows everybody where they are as far as the life insurance is concerned, both on the district paid and on the voluntary piece, so that could be sent to us, and they would send that to Guardian so they can upload it in their system and make sure we have everybody grandfathered in the positions they need to be in.
And Mary, maybe I can check with you on this. Our motion was if they were to match, we approved.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay.
I think we did that last time.
So if this truly is matching rates, then we're good.
We voted on that
Yeah.
last month, yeah. We already voted on it.
We just needed to make sure that we got those rates from Dave.
Yeah, that's just a plan, yeah.
Good.
Don't need my body to sign.
Okay, Dave, do we have appeals today?
Not to my knowledge, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I do not know of a need then for executive session, so we can move then to setting date and time for the next trust meeting. My one issue is that I had blocked off this day in September with my prior athletic director, but with the changeover, he now has me in Phoenix. because he was unsure of that day. So,
The 2017?
yes, I would like to request that we move that Wednesday. I am fine with that week because I think we need to stay pretty close to that date with Cerner presenting, and that is a major presentation. So I wanted to know if we could kind of look at availability with the board and see if we were okay, and the district really, for availability of a room.
You mean like moving it one day?
Carrie, I will say, I think somebody's coming from Cerner from Kansas City. They already have plans to be here, so if we could make it an adjacent day, that might, I mean, are you available the day before or the day after?
I'm available the day after.
28th.
I would be available the day after too. I get back on the 26th.
So 9/28 would work.
That works for me too.
Good.
And then, Mary, do you mind
Definite.
just sending a contact over to Cerner on that date change?
I'm sorry.
Could you contact Cerner and just let them know that
Oh,
date
definitely.
change?
Yes, I'll send the whole group.
Perfect.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you. So are we okay with September 28th?
Yep, works for me.
The rest of them are good for me.
Yeah, the others are fine. So that was my only issue. Okay. Any future items that we want placed on the September agenda from the trustees?
The only thing I could think of would be reconsideration of that,
The item we tabled. Get-
Postpone.
The setup fee for baseball?
3.4.
3.4.
Be terrific, though.
Yeah.
Well, you're the expert in the nerd when it comes to computer integration systems.
Not for this stuff, is not. Sorry. The only reason I say that is because I'm going through it right now, and I'm working with one insurance company in New Jersey that wants $10,000 for one ping.
Data interchange?
Sorry.
Yeah, well, something about data interchange.
Anything else that,
Right on the surface, it seems like the system's like all vacuum tubes. You know, it's very archaic as far as I'm
There are
concerned.
still gerbils in there, I am sure of it. Running across little,
On that cost of service breakdown, can we get a breakdown of that? Can we know what's included in that?
I would certainly believe that we could get a breakdown at least by category, if not like
Start out with.
specific names.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I guess really just the maintenance, because
Initial group.
I can send that email, yes.
It's not a new group you're comparing to.
Because
It's
the
like.
vaccines
Like a
are
cross-section
listed in
group
the
was the one
maintenance.
group that they established when they came up
That's
with
what she
the
said, yeah,
It's
so
the
it would be
same
nice to see.
personality, the same.
And then
Gotcha.
I think the medical
It's
services
like
and
if you're
supplies
looking
is
at
literally the
school,
rent
and you're
included in
talking
that.
about a whole
It's
bunch.
not.
No, we pay our rent separately.
Well, I know, I see the 42,000
no,
there.
rent separate.
But
That's
That's a lot.
that's our maintenance fee for the salaries, and
Salary.
that's the list that we're gonna get
You know, your next
of
year's
everything else,
class.
all other than the salary. Because we already know the salary, because it's in our contract, but we don't know the others. So that's what Dave is gonna, or I think.
It would be nice to see, because that 48,000
I hope we
is a
meet
big jump.
someplace
Because
where
our
my back isn't
prescriptions
about
for
to
Cerner,
melt.
they're all generic, so they usually run around
I really
5,000.
keep my eyes
Maybe a
open.
little
I just
higher,
sat down
like
there and
that
I'm
last
like,
month.
oh my
So
God.
40, that's a jump.
We were
So-
just that says.
But who was gonna get that for us?
Cover the windows with aluminum foil.
Yeah, but I will
Right.
send an
Shiny
email
side out.
reminder on that. I can handle that.
Then I just need to inform the people.
Maybe,
Okay, Dave, do you see any issues up and coming? I mean, you can always update us by email too. so-
Yeah, I can. I don't know what's going to happen in Congress, so I haven't got any crystal balls to tell you what's happening up in Washington DC, but
Nothing is gonna happen. Nothing.
All right, so just keep us up to date or with me, and then I'll communicate with Mary if we have agenda items that need to add. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 5 o'clock.
They were having the.